You're looking at the top of my refrigerator on the left side. This is my water pitcher. Inside is my hand blender. As a TI, you'll get constant reminders of things they don't like, that they've branded you in regards to your political views or racial things they would have going on. Now, you would see that refrigerator have dents in the top. It didn't have dents in the top of it when it arrived. Usually, as a targeted individual, the group that's harassing you has conned someone that lives or works in your building. And they will come in and mess with your stuff. They will search through your trash. Sometimes they will damage your property. Usually they damage it in the same ways. If you're being targeted, you'll see the same skits. You'll see the same thing over and over again. The last time I would have dents in an appliance would be in my caravan that I lived in Wonthaggi, Australia. And the dents would be in the microwave the same way. Beer bottles. My burps in beer bottles. Jamie done a routine on Mythbusters that would show you how to hit a person to cause brain damage. The Discovery Channel backgrounds, their camera people background cause stalking and send messages to people. So normally a place where I go, I'm targeted by the Pentecostals. They will screw up my floors. This started in my targeting originally with the guys that work for the phone company coming in deliberately with muddy boots and muddying up my floor. Now this is representative of what they call hoodoo or voodoo. In other words, they will keep throwing dirt on your reputation and keep throwing dirt on you, and you will forever be trying to clean up the mess of lies that they put you in. Pentecostal churches and cause stalking are major players. You will see on video, and I have pictures of them doing this weird dance they do. The Lutherans are major players. I have them on Wi-Fi. You would have your Wi-Fi on, right, looking for a hotspot. So you have Wi-Fi on looking for a hotspot. You live in Waukegan, Illinois. You have as a hotspot a church in Racine, Wisconsin, from Waukegan, Illinois. You have a hotspot from somewhere down by Interstate 64 which runs through Kentucky and Tennessee, PB&J Ministries, Andrews Road. A guy shows up at the driver's license facility in Springfield, Illinois, and you find him at Trinity Lutheran Church, parked there, and you will find more of their style of graffiti. So in my case, I will get the same symbols, the same kind of graffiti from one location to the next, wherever I move. This relentless stalking tactic was created by the Christian church based on Christian gospels, like Jonah. So frequently, I would post a picture on the stalking site of the spare tire in the birdhouse. The people that worship that birdhouse are part of my cause stalking. I have one here at my apartment that I currently live in. So we have these Indians, and they're always looking up and pointing at the sky for some crazy reason. So then here, I would have frequently Anglicans. Now, in the United States, I did not have Anglicans bother me. In Canada, they were around, but they're different than the Anglicans that are in Australia. The Anglicans in Australia tend to be aggressive like the Pentecostals. Difference being, you have a person that's targeted as an individual as a Pythagorean 5. And in some places, they will give you a $5 bill. In most places, they will beat and torture you. You will be looking for certain Bible verses. Isaiah chapter 53 will describe the type of torture that you're going through. You would go to the book of Deuteronomy and it would show you how they are supposed to prepare a calf or a lamb for sacrifice, and TI will have injuries and illnesses related to those specific organs in their body. They will make commentary in regards to eagles. Eagle is a Viking-style torture where they rip the individual's back open, pull his lungs through his rib cage. So a lot of their tortures are modified versions of these things. We would talk about a thing called a DEW, a direct energy weapon. Now, a direct energy weapon in itself sounds like something heinous, high-tech, and government created. A direct energy weapon is a stick, is rock, is tin can, soda can, is beer bottle. And problems that most TIs experience are related to peripheral nerve damage and traumatic brain injury from being hit in the head. Now, hitting them in the head, hitting us in the head, is preparation for torture using sound. Now, the UN is working on a case in regards to sonic torture. Now, that is a device that's created by a company called Raytheon for sound control, for crowd control. And it emits a sound that causes headache and nausea. They can emit a sound that will make you drop the things in your hand. You would have preparation for this type of torture, which is usually to hit you in a certain spot of your head and cause peripheral nerve damage or traumatic brain injury. Then they can torture you with sound. They frequently hyperflex your neck. Meanwhile, you're drugged out, compazine, thorazine, hit in the head, put in the sleeper hold while they do this. A lot of times they may use something like nitrous oxide to gas you. And you would think that you're under some dew weapon, and what you're experiencing is peripheral nerve damage. There is no dew weapon. And see pictures of people. Now look at those pictures. You need to understand something. I used to drive a chemical tank truck. I know what acid and caustic burns look like. Versus something you would call a dew, or a dew style torture. So we would have people online, and they would be trying to support this dew theory. Meanwhile, we would have people being tortured with common, ordinary household items and forms of torture that have been in effect for ages, like knowing where to hit an individual in the head, to cause damage, to cause them pain, to cause them sensitivity to noise on frequencies that they frequently would create. In the fact that the stalking is consistent from country to country wherever there's a church, and they can rapidly form gangs in an area where a target is, that would exclude the government in that type of organization. Government, you would have a weapon or a device they would be testing on you, especially in regards to something being microwaved. How are you going to ship it to some remote town somewhere? You have a guy with a motorbike, and he puts a certain kind of pipe on it. You've been hit in the head. You have cranial nerve damage in a certain spot. He can literally make you hurt with that. A lot of TIs have been prepped for torture, and people in the community will allow their children to scream. This thing that was made by Raytheon is digitally recorded and played through loudspeakers. Any person can make one in a garage. Most stalking and harassment comes from like rantanning and chivalry, which was old-fashioned things they'd done to people in the community that were undesirables. Most of what stalking and targeting is driving people out of society that they don't want for revenge, or they may have a disability. The church is very superstitious in relation to schizophrenia, the left-handed, people with mental illnesses, people with certain disabilities. They have blood-flying feuds that went on for generations. I can name a few last names, and these people would catch hell through their family for generations. Now, this is the real cause in group stalking. I didn't have any trouble with the government, but they would claim that the federal government is after you, so the national security, whatever. Now, if you have an individual that's being targeted, normally he does not have a high level of government security clearance, because bothering him with any group would put the government on their case. So normally these people either served in the military as enlisted, or they worked for a government contractor and one of the trolls spotted them and decided to target them. I would have this information confirmed by a person in Australia. He would ask me if I'd ever driven a truck with military equipment on it, and I'd tell him yes. So that would be part of the reason why you were targeted. He'd get in his car and drive away. So I don't want to hold you for too long. We would be on target lockdown. They tend to escalate and run the theater really hard for a while. In my case, it usually results in the death or injury of some of the participants. The one thing they harass people over is their driving. The one thing they're inept at is driving. So I would have retaliation because of an accident that occurred. the day before Thanksgiving in Springfield, Virginia with a car. I had no involvement in it. The church had voted after I recovered from injuries in these groups to take me off the road. They felt it was too late, that I recovered and had physical therapy and I was driving fine. And the Masons said that they were going to put me back the way I was, where I was injured and wobbling down the highway. Some point off the record, I would go to the hospital for treatment, some injuries and acute pain, and they would be talking about my being hit in the head over 80 times. They would see marks in a head scan and x-ray. This accident happened the day before Thanksgiving, 2002, in Springfield, Virginia. The gangs, groups that you believe the government is running, were told not to place cars askew on the highway for their wind, what they call God's call. And so they started running the cars flat. And AAA participates in this. They call it risk management. And putting this car on the side of the road, they would send a tow truck out to get it, a flatbed tow truck. One of their people would be looking for a cell phone and drift over the line and hit and kill the tow truck driver. They're running into the tow truck. So Black Club blames me for that. In spite of the fact they were told that you couldn't vote away a person's rights and that what they were doing was a human rights violation. They would attack you and point to their nose because the judge told them that religion belongs on the end of your nose. Your freedom of religion ends at the tip of your nose. So they would injure and torture people based on their beliefs. This has nothing to do with the government. Everybody that participates in this is not-for-profit organizations. They create a situation where normally they don't need a lot of heavy financial backing. They would just create a situation where through the lies or half-truths that they would create, people would volunteer to come after you as a person. Common, so you stole something, drugs missing, pedophile, sex offender, sleeping with a cop's wife or a cop's girlfriend, blue wall. Habitual drunk driver, church's video for the youth that they made of me. And passed around from one organization to the next to ruin my reputation and ruin my career. Post a threat made by a person in front of several witnesses. In my case, you would have a violation of my rights under freedom of religion and the right to enjoy technological advances. Free choice of employment, and under Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18, which forbids religious coercion. Religiously, I have a Buddhist practice, which makes me essentially an atheist by default. We would try to put African American people or African Africans in it, and their cultural traditions. I live in mainstream America. I'm a humanist. I'm not a traditionalist. I'm an atheist. I do not believe in a God of any kind. I do not engage in superstitions. It's a violation of my rights in regards to this numerology or astrology or anything that these groups engage in. They essentially try to assign you to a group for some ritual or for some sacrifice. These people, these commanders or rangers work as agents. Like, for instance, you would have a certain driving history and you would go to an insurance broker and the insurance broker would find a company that gives the best prices for people in your category. These people do the same thing. They find people that don't like you and will harass you and torture you simply for who you are for free in their spare time, or hoodoo crews who do damage for little or nothing. They would ruin your life for a cheeseburger. They're just mean-spirited. So I'm not going to keep you any longer than that on this one. I went over. Normally I don't like to run more than 15 minutes. So we're going to let you go. Look at what you see on the video.